Okay. Hello, Renan. Let's wait for everybody else to connect as well. I think this is going to answer a question you asked a couple of weeks back. What is literary universe? All of that. Let's go to this backdrop a little bit as I sort out some of my tabs in the background. All right, welcome everybody. Okay. Oh, again, low audio. Let me double check my settings to make sure that Zoom has not screwed with me again, as it likes to do. And yes, the answer, it did. So I hope this is better audio. Okay. Yeah, Zoom is getting very annoying and touching the settings it should not be touching. So let's give one more minute for people to catch up if they want to. This is going to be more of a hands-on semi-live demo. So hopefully everything will go all right. Okay, so let's get this show started. So welcome everybody. This is a showcase of my, could say, personal project that I have been often referencing and that I have been also using to test new features in Meteor, or if I develop a new feature for Meteor, this is also a project I use it to test it on. And this is a creative writing and reading platform. As the name suggests, centered around big story universes. And as said, we can read, explore and create. The difference from, say, Wattpad or any other, should say it, big websites around writing and reading is that we are focused not on individual stories and books, but on big series, say like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Dune. Those would be or Tolkien, that Tolkien's worlds, Middle Earth. Those would be nice example for what we kind of do with these, or kind of the center of what is this all about. So here we have just one of the story from the Open Archives. And the idea is that you can then jump in and start reading. And you won't be able to see this in this archive. So let me go back into Discovery, and I'll go to my own blog. And here we have floats, story universes that I've written. One is for my family, one is my creative writing. Another thing is that, or kind of the other major difference with other big platforms is that all the things that annoy me about it, because sometimes you have to do a lot of workarounds, like translations, like fan fiction, that is all integrated into this. So kind of quickly showcase kind of the main feature of this story. This is a normal, say, reading place. You have all the nice features like open dyslexic font, light, dark. Here we go, the open dyslexic font. This is a bigger font if you want to. Or I just don't want the sidebar here. I want to go full screen. All of that stuff. And here on the right, you kind of see what I call the magical sidebar. So let's get rid of this. And especially in big stories like this, where there is an entire universe, or think about Lord of the Rings, where you have entire lineages of people and thousands years of history. You can have a crazy big encyclopedia like here. I have 79 characters that I can go through, and you can also then read them in the encyclopedia itself. You can check out if there are any comments, none here. Oops, and yeah, you can see it's sometimes a bit buggy because of all the experimentation I do here on, or you can look through encyclopedia. But also here in the text, you notice there is like an underscore or just faintly visible. But when you click on it, we get an error. So looks like the gods of live demos are not with us today. But normally it would display here with you the details of the specific characters. And actually, I think I will fix this bug somewhere. So that is kind of the reader's experience. The idea is here that if you are knowledgeable about the universe, you can just skip these entries, like what's this planet about? Oh, I know this is the capital of a species in this story, so I can skip that. But if not, I can click on it and learn more information about it. By default, it will display just a basic description, and you can click read more and kind of get more details and lore of that story, or you can just completely ignore that. So going to the user section, obviously as a user, you have always available some scratchpad. So if you get an idea anywhere on the site, you can just put it down, save it. Here we go to, and this is locally on my machine, so that's why it's a bit more snappy, because otherwise the servers are in America and they are on the, well, not necessarily free tier, but the lowest tier on Galaxy. So they are not as fast. So if we go under the stories, let's just go to Leaf Bloom, which we just looked at. And we got, let's see if it works over here. So yeah, this is actually, it's very similar, but in the writer here, you can see the entire thing edited. And here the idea is that everything you need is on one page. And you can see we have author's notes and so comments for all different revisions, because that's like another thing. If you click here on the save, you can see we have different revisions and all the nice thing. If I go back, you can see we can also add collaborators, there are translators, monetizations options, which is kind of the latest thing that I'm working on. Storylines and scene managers are on the roadmap. Of course, translations. Then we have kind of here overview notes where you can kind of answer these quick questions for yourself, and that those will be then available for you Let's see, that will be, I believe, yeah, right over here, which you can also fill in here, so you can always kind of keep on track. So, and then we have the translation. This one doesn't have one, but let me, yeah, this one is a Japanese test. So let's see, do we have a translation now? So let's create a translation. Hopefully, again, let's pray to the gods of live demos that everything works properly. And here we have, the original title to see, and then we can, rename it. So normally we would have a Japanese title. So let me just quickly actually go to the settings here, switch this to let's, for example, use these. In this case, we need to insert SEO friendly stuff manually. You can see here we have select languages, and there's lots and lots of other things, but just to showcase the translation. So now I can see now the original title. I have here the translation. The description is still the same. I can add text. I can add, if we have the original cover, I can create a new one, and so on and so on. So now if I look, we have the chapters here, and yeah, this looks like I have another bug there. My apologies, but so that's what will happen there is you'll have the original on the left and then the translation on the right, so you can see and compare. And as you have seen, I have crazy big universes in the encyclopedia here with everything. And let's actually just open for the main character. And again, like here, you have links to other locations in the encyclopedia. Everything is super interconnected. If I open it, you can see loads and loads of fields. Most of them are not normally displayed because I have not put them in. And down here, you can also see that I have additional fields that can be added. They can be obviously reorganized. I can make them private so that they only for me as a writer and my collaborators, and so on. Another, of course, like I can link here with other entries as well, and related entries. So let's just find Andvin the third, and he is the father, or actually can put it here under the parents section. So Andvin the third. Can add here extra information, father, saving, and boom, we have parents here as a father. And you might think, it's a parents category. Why do I have, to write down that it's his father? And that kind of comes with this territory. You have to think, what if this character is from a species where they don't just have a mother and a father, but maybe a third or a fourth character that is involved, in being what we would consider parents. And this is what makes this so challenging to do, because normally, for example, you see here, he was born, and it was just like, okay, just add this as a date entry. Well, it's not that simple. What if in my story, like you can see here, we are using completely different times. So in this case, standard universal time, which has completely different setting and stuff like that. So that's all to consider. Obviously, there are some basic templates, as you can see here. And in the encyclopedia settings, you can turn them on and off. And I should probably turn the religion for this as well, since this is not a fantasy. I don't need necessary deities and magic in this. So we can save that, and boom, we have relations here. And I can then add more templates here as well. And as I said, there is crazy things like this specific listing where you can nest things into each other. So there is a lot of things to do if go to Fictional Time. And I think I have, let me just jump to the live site because I think I have it there and I don't want to bore you here with creating a fictional universe. So let's just jump straight into it, and I'll just switch to right monitor. So workshop, let me hopefully, let me double check that OBS is getting it. So, oh, I don't even have it here. Wow, that's surprising. So let's create one. Standard universal time, SUT, that's before units, and here I can define, when does it start? So 0101 2400 0 0 0 0 or AM. So in this case, AM. And then we have here first is the second, and then I can add a unit, which is going to be a minute. And that's going to be like that, separator, and this is, actually no, there's another separator like that, just called hour. That's again 100. Then we have a day. This case is correct. We have a space here. And the final unit is year, and we have 500 standard days in a year, so that's dot. So let's see what's going to happen here. So here you can see, the countdown and a couple of other things. This is still very much in development. You can see, here that it's not adding the 0 values. But cool things here is that, let's see, select Earth time, so 1 minute, and let's see how much that is. 1 minute. 1 minute of our Earth time is actually 0.6 of the standard minute. Obviously, I did this very quick, so I would have to go and improve this. But eventually, again, it goes back to the interconnectedness. So all of these things, once I perfect this tool a little bit more, you will be able to define in the time in the Encyclopedia. So let's just quickly jump back here. So in the characters, it's probably going to be a little bit more. Oh, so it's actually buggy online, so I'll have to check that later. But thankfully, we have local version, which is more approachable. So if I go here and let's see, do we have a time entry? No. So if I added a time entry here, you can see here I can select the fictional date. And in the future, as I select it, I would have an option of those I have defined. And then I have some form here that will make it easier for me to choose that. So again, that's scratching surface of what all these things can do. As you have seen, there is a super interconnectedness of everything, which makes this super hard to make change in one thing, and as you have seen, hope that it's going to work well in another. And there's organization. It also uses socialized packages for commenting, for feed here, for profiles, and ton of other things. So we have also here, linked accounts. And one of the things that I really like is, and that's still improving, is the ability to change languages. And so this is in Czech, and let's see, Nihongo. And we have a couple more languages. That's how they were, and they are actually translated on Crowdin. The languages itself is a open repository. So, and that one is connected here to Crowdin, where I have this project, Letter Universe, so people can, come in and help with the translation, or I'm translating it myself. You can see I have started on Portuguese, Brazilian, and also the normal one. And that's for people like Felipe and Renan and other of our Brazilians. So hopefully I will have some more time to progress on this, and then they can yell at me how my machine translation via DeepL is not really good enough. But so far from my experience, the DeepL, which I'm using for this primarily, it's a really nice project for translation. So let's actually do a Felipe. I don't think I can learn another language, but let's see if we can do a quick translation. So we have English, and here we select Portuguese, Brazilian. Let's see if it can translate. So what do you guys think? Is this a good translation? Or should we go with the second one of the option? Let's go with this one. Looks like there's a couple of others. So, and this two kind of starts getting more interesting in once you get bigger, and just make sure that the parameters are set properly. So just these 4. Very quickly. So now that's going to open the next file and so on, but let's end it for here. And let me show you then how that looks in the repository itself. So this is the package that I have inside. There are some additional settings as well, but we have all the languages here. And very soon, once it detects that I have done this translation, it will push these changes to this repository and create a pull request with the latest translation and kind of hold them outside until I approve. And then in here in the settings, I can then add Portuguese into this array of languages, and it will become available. So, and I see Felipe is already suggesting better translation. So I'll fix that in later, or you can, create on Crowdin. And this is one of the things that kind of want to also hopefully do in the future for documentation or guide or the community website there, because it can also translate Markdown and stuff like that. So could outsource or make it available for communities to translate into their languages this documentation. And So I can see I'm playing a little bit with superphase here and other things. So I'm using some new browser policy. So I'm wondering, if there is something specifically you want to see about the code. Another thing to mention, the administration is in a separate app, so that also increases security as well. And we have still a couple of more questions about everything. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of ideas that I have what to do. For example, here, my library. Later on, as I start reading stories and following them, I, for example, want to track where the people are in their reading and all that nice stuff. This is a project I've been working on my own for a couple of years, or actually more than a couple of years. It will be probably 5 years soon, but the idea is over 10 years old now. And this is kind of the latest iteration. Me working this alone means that the design, as you can probably notice, is not the best. So if there is any designer out there who would like to improve things, I am more than happy to collaborate. And as I've also mentioned at the beginning, I am using this to test a lot of Meteor functionality because of the complexity of the code. So I usually get to try a lot of the functions. I try to implement as much as possible, but also within a reason for the application. So in that way, when I start testing here new stuff, then it's usually I get to see any problems pretty quickly, or sometimes because of how many things there are here, it can take me a while to find it. So it's not the only place I test, but usually this is kind of the testing route for my packages as well. As for the CSS, it's actually something I could show in this crazy things. I'm using styled components built on React for many things, but I have my own, can kind of see here, color scheme. And here are some common components, most of it taken from React, adjusted a little bit, but also means I also miss on some of the other design goodies. And then it gets even more and more complicated for collections and so on. So one more round of final questions, going once, twice, and let me double check for finally the polls here. Nothing. So thank you very much for your attention. If you want to maybe contribute or fix my mistakes in translation, feel free. It's available online. Just make sure you fix it on Crowdin, not in the GitHub repository. Otherwise, it's going to get overwritten. And if you have any questions, I'll be in the chill session later, and we can talk more, or you can just connect to me privately via our impact site. And without further ado, give space for the next talk. Thank you very much.